Well, this seems to be the park that I ended at last time, and over there in the brush, or the bush, is the pond that I reached. I'm parked there on the curb at Metcalf Park, and there's nobody in the park today at all, except my friends, these geese. You probably can't see them. I can't see them through my screen. I'll try a close-up. Well, they should show up now. I don't want to get too close because geese are known to become hostile, so I don't want to aggravate them. This is where we saw a fisherman before, and there's one there today too. I just realized I still have my close-up on, so I'll have to change there before the next shot. Don't want to use my entire battery on the pond, but it may be the prettiest thing I see today on today's walk. But I had a little preview as I was driving in here. Came down Monterey Road all the way from my place, and I could see the pond from Monterey Road before I turned in here. So it'll continue for quite a while, apparently. Maybe a mile. Now the pond and the neighborhood are very close. We're coming down to a funnel, so to speak. And Monterey Road also funnels over this way, or we go over its way from here. So in a little bit further, we'll be seeing Monterey Highway. I'm still on the bank or levee trail, but over there the street curves, and where the street ends, where this cars just passed, is Monterey Highway. And over here, beyond the pond and the meadow after the pond, is Highway 101. Monterey Highway was 101 when I first moved into the San Jose area, but the freeway now at my left is something built 20 years or so ago and opened, and now there's a big development there next to it that I don't remember ever seeing before last week's hike, that is. And here's a parking lot right next to Monterey Road. We're actually about 60 to 80 miles away from the city of Monterey, so it might be a little confusing to people. But that was the way to get to Monterey from San Jose in the day. Looks like there's some wildlife on the trail there. Ground squirrel or rat. No, it's a squirrel. I can tell by the tail, I think. And there's the end of the pond. 100 yards or so further on. Now the levee trail is going to join the real trail. In fact, it's only 20 or 30 feet from me here, and just beyond this merger is Monterey Highway, and beyond that the main railroad from San Jose to places like San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and eventually Los Angeles. I once took a passenger train from San Jose to San Luis Obispo to meet my brother, who was driving across country to tour California. My brother Tom, that is. And we had a very nice visit, and I showed him around California quite a bit. Well, there's some docks, apparently for small boats. I haven't seen any boats on the pond, and the pond looks quite large from here. Walking down in order to get a better view of it. Must go on for a mile and a half or two to this end. And I think fishing here is free, which I mentioned because there is a for-fee fishing pond further down Highway 101, closer to Morgan Hill. And here at this bottommost or southernmost point on this finger of the pond, there's a boat ramp, but this is fenced and the gate is not open. There's another finger of the pond that goes further down beyond the bushes. And up here it looks like the trail takes a sharp turn over the creek. We're still following Coyote Creek, of course, after the pond is gone. So I'll take that bridge when I get to it, and not before. Very scenic. And here's the other finger of the pond that I was talking about, but actually this apparently is the creek. It's backed up quite a bit, of course, so it's quite big here. On the other side here may be the ponds that I described as fee fishing ponds, because they have so many benches and amenities like toilets that I doubt it. Well, here's the 7-mile marker. 7 miles from Hellyer Park, 8.5 miles from Morgan Hill. And this road next to the road into Coyote Ranch. I saw the sign for it earlier and said that was Coyote Ranch, but I was misspeaking. Huge tree right next to the trail here. And beyond that bank is the creek. Quite weedy, rustic looking. Doesn't look like there'll be much shade like this for a while now, because we're coming out into unshaded trail. This grass next to the trail is a little bit of a concern. It's higher than along any other trail I've been on, I think. And the concern is that snakes can hide in the grass and jump out. I almost missed the next mile marker, which is 8 miles from Morgan Hill and 7.5 miles from Hellyer Park. Well, another side street that we're crossing. There's Monterey Highway to the right, and the trail goes to the left, and there's riding in this part of the trail apparently. I saw a no horses sign earlier. The hills are all brown, as they are most of the year in California. Maybe from November through February they're green, but by this time they're in their more natural state. Even though it's been a rainy spring compared to many. Maybe the riding sign with the horse meant that there are riding trails on this ranch. And the sign is missing from the, or at least a place to pay for your horse or whatever, sign up for it. I think I got a clip of a sign just like this one earlier, but it may be one of the ones that couldn't be saved on my card, so I got it again. Right over there is what looks like a horse showground, some kind of county recreational facility. And here's the 8-mile marker, so I think I've walked over 6 miles since I got out of the car, just a little over, or 2 miles I mean, from the car. And now I'm well over halfway between Hellyer Park and the park in Morgan Hill where this trail begins in that town. So we're getting there. Well, here is a pond that's more like what I usually used to call a pond in my Pennsylvania background. I suppose here in California, or in this age of greenery, this would be called a marshland instead of a pond. Certainly has a lot of moss in it. I don't know about marsh. Well, it looks like that marshland turned into a more authentic pond. Walking back now 100 yards more or so, I see that it's still going on, and there's a fisherman there. At least presumably that's what he is. I can't see his fishing rod, but it's too far to pick up something that small. And it looks like ahead of me on the trail here is another ranch, an old-timey looking one. I'm guessing these are buzzards. But they might be hawks. Over there is the house that I thought from a distance looked old-timey, and it certainly is. And then under this, or beyond this fence, not under it, there's a newer building, but I can only see the roof of it a little bit. Looks like they're growing something inside this. Whatever it is. Well, it looks like trees. A little nursery, a tree nursery. Yeah, and beyond the fabric, there's lots of trees growing too in pots. So these must be ornamental trees for people's yards, or for public parks and things like that. what I described a few minutes ago as a more modern looking roof turns out to be an old barn, but it's apparently part of this nursery. And the only word I could come up with for this screen, which is the correct word, was fabric a little bit ago. That's why I'm a writer, not a speaker. It takes me a while to come up with the bon mot. There's a more modern house that must be attached to this nursery. Looks like a modular house. And it looks like it was cultivated quite a bit more in the past than it is now. To our left now, another big stretch of pond. And we're coming up to a sharp left turn on the trail. Well, this is a natural phenomenon worth mentioning. Here is a big animal hole. I hope there's not a snake living in it, or even a large family of snakes. There's a big beetle walking out of it. I thought maybe it was some kind of spider or tarantula at first. Don't know if that shows up or not. It's very dark back with the dirt background. But I wonder who dug that. I can see into it because the sun is shining into it, but it goes quite deeply into the ground there. And after the sharp left turn, a nice view of some long pond area. I see quite a bit of waterfowl there, but I don't imagine any of it can be picked up on your screen. There's a heron, and I saw a bunch of ducks. And apparently straight ahead of me now is Freeway 101, and we're coming up on the 8.5 mile marker. So I'm almost coming to the end of the trail for today. If I do another mile, that would be the most I think that I would even try today. But sometimes I get encouraged by the scenery or something to go on further than I expect, so I won't commit one way or the other. Miles from Morgan Hill. A lot of bicyclists on this trail. One jogger so far. Spoke too soon. Now I see somebody walking toward me. There's the freeway beyond the weeds. And then it says there's water across the trail, so I may have to... Well, I had to make another deletion of clips to make room for more video. I've been taking quite a bit today, apparently. I didn't realize how much. Those that I put on naniglow.com and YouTube. There are about 30 clips in a program, so... What's going on? Maybe the ones I did in January and February, which are the ones I've been deleting, were shorter. After walking through the flood area, I came to this point very close to Freeway 101, and right there is a sign to Bailey Avenue, which is the first exit for Morgan Hill. So I didn't realize how close to Morgan Hill we had gotten. But the trail must continue for another 5 or 6 miles after we get into Morgan Hill to its end, its other terminus. And here is Bailey Avenue, a little side ramp from the street down to the trail here. And the bicyclist talking on a cell phone in front of me. The road sign up at the top says San Jose, straight ahead, Los Angeles to the right. It's only about 400 miles between the two. That's one of the strange things about California. Well, there's the 9-mile marker. 9 miles from Hellyer Park, 3 miles from where I started today, only 6.5 from the terminus of the trail. Quite clear view of the freeway in both directions from this part of the trail. A whole bunch of bicyclists coming toward me now. And I'm coming up on the 5.5 mile marker. No sign of any access to the trail from either the freeway or Monterey Highway from here. So this is a bad place to turn around. Hey, 5.5 on both sides. That doesn't seem to make sense. Maybe that's an old marker. In any case, I'm not going to go on. I don't see another one beyond there. I remember saying earlier that I was well over halfway. So this can't be the halfway point, but it's a conundrum. More bicyclists coming. I hate to take up the walk from this point next time, but I guess I'll have to do it from Bailey Avenue. I have been walking well over an hour and a half, so it's definitely time to turn back. And also it's later than I usually have been walking. Certainly no problem getting back to my car with lots of daylight, but starting to cool down noticeably. That's the only skater I've seen on the trail. Today, and maybe for the last 3 or 4 days of walking. He's really making progress. Wish I could do that. Well, I'm approaching Bailey again, and the mile marker right in front of me is 6.5 miles. I'm sure it wasn't a whole mile from where I saw 5.5, so the mystery deepens. Hello. It's about 6:30 now, evening, and the ambience is much more evening than it was earlier. I got to sit on a stump. I had forgotten that there were no benches for the past 3 miles or so before I turned back. But I finally did find a stump that was the right height for me to sit for 5 minutes. Makes a big difference on the feet. Anyway, I doubt if you can hear the birds singing when I shut up, but I can hear them quite well, and it's a very nice evening, Vespers feeling to it. Well, I finally got to a bench. It's a bench with no back, so I can only half relax on it. But this is the boat dock, about half mile from the beginning point, I guess, from today. It's been fully 3 hours since I set out from my car. My feet are killing me, and I'm not real hungry, but I could eat.